There are songs now that I will sing as you as a Nigerian will immediately
Oh yeah.
connect to them. Coco, Pilo,
Go
Kopi.
below, go
Exactly.
go below.
Both of us immediately can connect to Lagbaja because we
Yeah.
grew up with that sound. These were the soundtrack to our lives.
Yeah, that's
It's like a movie.
yeah, that's true. Hey, yo, beautiful people, welcome to Creative Ones. I'm your host, Chineme Prince. All right, today, the guy that I have for you, this guy is one of the smartest people that I know, and you'll know that very soon. You'll find out very soon. So I wouldn't say anything. I won't give too much away. I'm just going to go on straight and introduce you to him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. A king, I know feel to pass King Solomon. Sorry, it's Burna Boy. No vex for me. Man,
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's a pleasure to come
my
on.
guy. When I was thinking about doing this podcast, you're literally one of the first people that came to mind that had to
Yeah.
do this stuff with.
Bless, bless, bless. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Bye, man.
it's always great to talk with you. Catching up is always a fun time for us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So,
Yeah.
Solomon and I have known each other for about, I think, two,
3 years, I think.
3 years.
Yeah,
I remember
actually.
the first time that I met you. I think was at
The All African
all
Fest.
not all African Fest. It was the one we did at the Kiza
Oh
restaurant.
yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
you had like a suggestion about soundtrack. I'm like, this guy is someone that I would like to meet, but we
Yeah.
didn't exactly meet that day. But I heard
Mhm.
you, and then over time we just got to know each other.
Mhm.
And we've become in a really short amount of time. We've become like really close friends.
Yes,
We go
we have.
camping and all that stuff,
Yes.
and
Mm.
we have these conversations all the time.
True,
Like
actually.
literally all the time.
True. We do. I think for most part of it, for every time we actually do meet up, it's always conversations that revolve around life and sound and the creative process. It's always a fun time actually
Yeah,
hanging out with you, man.
so I mean, when
Yeah.
I was thinking of podcasts to do, I'm like, this is one of the things I want to do. I want to because really have great amount of conversations with my friends and acquaintances,
Right.
and I feel like the world should hear some of these conversations. Hence, this whole podcast.
Okay.
But
Great.
before we get too far ahead,
Mhm.
tell us, Solo, what do you do?
Okay. So my name is Solomon, and I'm a sound engineer. And I've been a sound engineer for over a decade now. I think
Yeah,
in around a decade of engaging auditory stuff. Growing up in my household, my entire family were all people who were musically inclined. My mom sang high soprano in the in the choir, and just naturally I gravitated towards the auditory phenomenon, how it basically moves you, the impact it has. I know a lot of people are like to actually make this comparison between audio and video, but it is to actually represent an experience truly. But I find the audio part of it really uniquely interesting. So I have dedicated a large part of my life to pursuing many auditory passions.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I know. I mean, this guy makes music also, and now that I have you here, and the whole world is going to see it. Solomon, where is the song that we recorded?
No, see, this is the thing. Having a 9 to 5 and balancing creative work.
Say,
It's a hassle that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I feel like everyone who's a creative should have the time and the energy and the space to be able to create. Unfortunately, when you have and you have to manage both a 9 to 5 and the creative process, it can become very challenging. And so you begin projects, and whilst you are working towards getting those projects like to the best professional sounding quality that you can, you are still impeded by having to basically make a living to survive and everything. So yes, our song is actually cooking. So
right. See how he just stylishly, stylishly just mirror himself away from the conversation. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. But I understand, man. You work hard and you work a lot. So in your profession, you must do a lot of work. Has there been like um a more challenging project that you've ventured in the past
Ah,
or currently?
I would say most of my projects are challenging. So for I am blessed to exist in a space where I work within my passion. So what what I feel creatively is also what I need to also, implement in my 9 to 5. So working as a sound engineer and working for the company I work for, basically gives me the ability to be able to design and implement sound ideas from different areas of like the sound, the auditory sphere. So thinking about it, my 9 to 5, I am engaged in maybe like designing systems for large complexes, auditoriums, venues, right? PA system, pro audio systems that reinforce sounds in those spaces. In the creative side of things, I do sound design and I create music myself. I play an instrument, and all of this all have different technicalities and challenges that comes with them. On the work side of things, I enjoy the process of having to kind of resolve or like a bunch of information into auditory spectacles for people to experience some kind of effect, right? And on the creative side of things, that gives me a little bit more freedom to kind of get into the nitty gritty of creating unique sounds for unique projects. So every of the things I normally undertake is challenging, be it film, be it animation, be it music in itself, or be it just designing PA systems. So each of them has a bunch of unique challenges that keep me on my feet, or on my feet rather, I would say. So yeah, that's the process for me. I would generally say that I think the biggest takeaway or the biggest challenges I encounter is ordering my thought process, or trying to, when I conceive the idea, basically structuring that idea into actionable steps to get to the desired outcome I want. Sometimes that process takes longer. Sometimes that process is immediate. And the journey of it is always very thrilling for me. That's why I still exist in my space the way the way I do. Yeah.
This guy is just blowing English. He's just giving me English.
No, leave English. No, we don't say.
This
We
is what
don't
I
say where
am.
we say. You
This
don't
is
say where
what
we say we
I.
don't they speak this.
Guy, this is what I'm talking about. Give me that pigeon. Yeah.
No, but the pigeon thing is always going to come up.
Yeah,
We
man.
are by virtue of who we are, by
I'm
virtue
telling you,
of
every time I'm around in Nigeria, and it's like I forget my manners. It's like manners, what? Out of
yeah,
the
no, no,
window.
no, no. But
We're
yeah,
going back.
yeah. We
Man.
have a unique way to relate to each other, and I have a theory about that.
Okay.
Actually, I feel like it's the shared trauma of the actual shared trauma of being a Nigerian
Mm.
basically unifies us in a way that I've really not seen how other nationalities handle this, because we go through a lot, and that shared experience kind of bonds us.
Yeah.
And so when we see our fellow countrymen, no
Yeah.
matter whatever is happening, we relate to
It's,
the person with that same energy, and it's wonderful to
nah,
see.
no, yeah, there's that Nigeria spirit and Nigeria
So Charlie,
resilience
they
and all
carry
that.
last thing.
Nigeria know they carry last, bro. Nigeria they carry last. For those of you that don't know, it means Nigeria, we don't come last.
No, we don't
Just saying.
actually.
Okay, thank you for that. So moving on to the next question. Every artist,
Mm,
no matter who you are, you have something that inspires you.
yes.
What would you say yours is? Is it like a person or a thing?
Um, I think there are multiple people who inspire me. And not just in my creative space. I find that I am inspired by people who do well at the things they do exceedingly well, and they have a grace about them. So, an example I would say, a key influence for me when I think of things like this is someone like Trevor Noah. He's
Mm,
a comedian, right? And someone like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart has one of the best work ethic I have ever seen in anyone in that business.
yeah.
Dude is always on something.
Mm,
That is immensely inspiring to me. I find Trevor Noah is very witty and creative with his content, with the way he structures his program, the way he thinks about issues, the way he basically realize or maybe analyze a situation and able to kind of resolve it into actionable, how do I put it? Like very relatable stuff that resonates with anyone who will actually listen to that content. That's very inspiring.
mm,
And I draw inspirations from many of these places and many of the things I come across in my life. And they, in turn, fuel, my creative process as well. So it's not necessarily sound. There are also sound guys that really inspire me, people who actually do amazing work. Funny enough,
mm,
one of the things I like to do, or one of the things I really like to actually really actually like that you go back to is really looking at people who are creatives who are not really known, but
Okay.
they do amazing work. Take for instance someone like Paul Cleverly.
Oh yeah, yeah. The
Paul
Nigerian guy that does all those mixes with people's
Paul
words and all that.
Paul is a producer that I follow and really inspires me, right? Take for instance someone like Don Jazzy. Don Jazzy is already known, right? But his work ethic inspiring as well. So the people within my space that I look to and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the path, right? The people outside of my space that I also look to and be like, this is also great to, as well to actually fuel this creative process. So inspiration can come from many of these particular things as as I come across them. So that's just basically me for
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's a lot of influences and inspiration, man.
Yes, you should. Like again, I feel like it gives you a dynamic perspective
Mm.
when it comes to your creative art. If you can draw inspiration from things around you, no matter what that thing is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree 100%. And talk to me about your process, specifically your music making process. I
I
know
see.
we were talking about this. You said something about sometimes when you're playing chords, you just call them out when you're recording so you can
Yes.
remember them later because
Yeah.
in the moment when you're freestyling, you sometimes don't remember it later on. So talk to me about that process.
Okay, so for me, the music process is such an innate way for me to treat myself. I feel like it's therapy. It is self therapy for me because the music is linked to a lot of emotions. It is linked to an experience or to a particular occurrence, right? So I actively take time out to create. In those times, like you said, I pick up my instrument of choice, which in recent times has been the guitar, and then I would think of the melody, or the melody might just come to me, and then I will just figure that out. Once I have that melody down, and that melody is, I feel it's okay, then I begin to think of variations of that melody, right? And then I think of cadences because another thing is cadence, especially when it comes to music. There's a way you can structure the lyrical flow into that song that basically just makes it pop. So when I consider all of those processes, then I now allow myself to just flow in and out of them. And what often happens is at the end of it, I have written an entire song from A to B, either the verse, all the verses, the chorus I've already figured out, and the bridge, the transitions between each of these particular parts. Once I have that down, then the recording starts, which is when it becomes typically very intensive because then I have to, when I do my recordings, then I have to create a beat around it. Sometimes I create the beat first and then I put the lyrics and the vocals in, or some other times I record the vocals first and then figure out how to kind of put the music in to kind of blend the entire solution. So it could go both ways, but ultimately the end product is something I'm quite happy with. That being said, I think I find it more comfortable to actually create the beats most times and allow someone else lay vocal on them.
Oh yes, yes. This guy, every time I go to visit him, he plays me beats, and it's like, "Oh, Chineme, come do this, come do this." We're singing all night. I'm like, "Dude, I want to sleep." It's like, "No, no, no, just one more time, let's one more time." So yes, when he says that he prefers to make the beat than someone else sing, I believe him 100% because I have
Yes.
been. But it's always an amazing experience because we
Mm.
always end up coming up with some of the nicest things,
Yes, we do.
that will probably never play to anyone
Yes,
because
because
it's just for our own
yes, you make
users,
music for yourself.
Exactly.
I've always been a strong believer of making music for yourself because once you are able to make music that you find inspiring and comforting and really speaks to you, right? Regardless if anybody likes that music or not, you've done a great job. You've fulfilled your job as a creative. Now, the marketing and selling of that music is a different entire story, and like which is I don't think we have enough time to go into. But the creative process and the making process, I feel, has to be uniquely the artist. It has to be uniquely you in a lot of ways. It has to have meaning to you. That's why I really appreciate a lot of the acts that come out from our country. They like if you listen to the stories, if you listen to the songs, a lot of them have specific things that they are going through or specific things that they are trying to tell you. whatever the situation might be, whether it is something lewd or something normal or something just about life, they have a story to tell. And that story is being told. And that is the creative process. That is the essence of this entire thing. That's why you do what you do.
Sure.
You shouldn't be for someone else, it should be for yourself. So whether it gets released or anybody hears it or not, you've done the job as a creative if you've done that process.
Correct.
And I feel like that's how I feel. I know everybody has the luxury to kind of feel that way because you have to make money from it. Sometimes you have to use it to feed. But at the core of it, the creative process has to be, for you.
Yeah.
For you.
No, I feel that. I actually echo that because for me, when I start to make music properly, and the way I want to do it is I don't necessarily want to be performing in like big arenas or concerts. I just want like an intimate room where about 20, 30 people. I mean, sure, I maybe once in my lifetime do a song, my song being sung by 100,000 people, but really what I just want is like a room for like 30, 50, just maximum 100. We sat down in a stool, playing whatever instrument that I eventually learned how to play and play my music, and then they're singing alongside me. So yeah, because that's what I want. I'm making the music firstly, or whatever it is, whatever arts it is. I'm making them firstly for myself, and then for the audience.
For the sharing.
Exactly. So we both love music a lot. We love music. Do you think that music can influence the world?
I think music already influences the world. This is where you know it is actually true because if as you transcend across multiple cultures, wherever you are on the planet, you find some element of music. Right? There's a reason for that because there's such a feeling that music evokes. Right? It is indescribable to a very large degree. So the fact that it can be able to move people to such a magnitude means that it can be either used for great good and great bad, just like almost everything that exists in our society. But as a net positive, I feel like music as a whole is a net positive because it offers an avenue for you to be heard and also hear people. And it offers the platform for you to connect as well. When you share, because there's an amazing thing with sharing your music and having people relate to that music. Someone who you've never met, someone who you've never really connected to, or you've never really had any instance to connect to something that you felt deep in you. There is a significant bond, and we are social animals. So we like forming those bonds, and music is a facilitator for that. So it is always going to be in our society. I don't think it will ever be left out of our society. It might evolve as it's always done because there is this age-old thing where you say, where the previous generation will say, "Oh, I don't know what the last generation's music sounded like," and there's always going to be that difference. But the core of it is that music exists. There's always going to be music that characterizes a generation. There's also going to be music that connects a generation. There are songs now that I will sing, as you as a Nigerian will immediately connect to them. Coco, Pilo,
Go,
Pilo.
Pilo,
Exactly.
Coco, Pilo.
Both of us immediately can connect to Lagbaja because we grew up with that sound. Right? We grew up listening to these guys. We grew up connecting with these guys. We lived our lives, and these were the soundtrack to our lives. It's like a movie. So when something is a soundtrack to your life, it stays with you. It holds that memory. And your brain does a weird thing. When you hear it, it triggers it. It triggers that memory. Just like smell will trigger something, music triggers things. That's why the people who actually gave birth to under the sound of specific music. The music that you were giving birth to, you should ask your parents about that.
Your dad and mom. What was the music playing?
You don't even need to ask them.
I think I would know. I'll be maybe 70% sure. Probably like a country music. Because growing up as a kid, my dad would always play
country music.
Country music.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Think about the music that your dad would play and your dad and your mom would immediately vibe to. That music?
That music
is a suspect.
Suspect, bro. Suspect. Something's happening.
That music is suspect. So again, music as a backdrop to our life is a constant, and I don't think it would ever change. It is always going to impact us as a society. I do feel like as a whole, as I've mentioned, a net positive generally. Yeah.
Man, that's a very outstanding answer. Yeah. Okay. All right. So sound tracks.
Okay.
Because one thing that I remember vividly about the first time that I heard you,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I specifically saw you, but I heard your question was about how soundtrack helps with movies, helps to elevate movies. Could you talk more about soundtrack and movie making? Because I know this is something that you aspire to do eventually, like properly, at some point in life. So could you talk more on that?
Okay, so in this regard, like I mentioned earlier, there are many people who inspire me, and one of the greats, I always refer to him as the great in terms of soundtrack for movies. Is Hans Zimmer. He has done amazing work. He's a composer par excellence. His work has resonated with us. It has driven narratives. It has propelled narratives. It is, in fact, his body of work, amazing, right? And there is something that you see with people who are on that same level as his,
Yeah.
right? It is their dedication to the understanding of what they're trying to convey and the boiling down of what the rudiments or the core aspect of that music is trying to say. So they use music as a tool to drive the narrative. That is the core thing. Using music as a tool to drive the narrative. And they know how to use specific instruments to to create emotive situations. So, for instance, a sad, a cliche, although cliche kind of, but like as if you have a sad thing like just catching, you hear violin,
Yeah.
that's a volume to kind of convey the sound because of the sound or the timbre of the music and the musical instruments. Yes, so they've attained, amazing mastery at using these core principles to convey and drive narratives, both in their composition, both in the application of that music to specific scenes and how they implement that. They've done amazing work with this.
That's true.
So, like you said, I hope to get to that point one day, right? To be able to have this wealth of experience and this wealth of knowledge
Yeah.
and apply it to drive specific narratives. Because if it serves the story, you've done a great job.
Yes, sir.
If it's basically served the story, if it's basically conveyed the essence behind this particular scene, the essence behind this particular thing I'm seeing, then you've done a great job.
Yes, sir.
So that's the goal. Those
Yeah.
guys are the goal. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. That sounds absolutely correct. I just want to take it back a little bit. You mentioned something about instrument. Just shortly, how many instruments do you play?
For now, I play just two, and I'm hoping to increase that number to by two more when I've gained appropriate mastery of the two I currently play.
And I am here. I cannot even play one single one.
No, but it's not too late to start. That's another thing I always say.
Well,
It's not too late to
No,
start.
I will learn how to play the guitar because in the future I want to be able to impress my wife by my guitar playing skills.
That was actually how I learned how to play
yeah?
the guitar.
Correct.
I learned how to play the guitar to impress a girl. But it was by far, I would think, the most beneficial thing I have done out of how do I put it? I wouldn't say a wrong motivation because obviously at the age when you were doing all of this, the of hormones were flooding into your system. But that motivation and that drive to basically want to learn this to convey how I felt, because I felt like there was no way to actually convey how I felt but through song. And if that is your medium, then you have to, hold on to it. Some people's medium could be the visual medium, the painting of it, or it could be expressing yourself through paint. It could be expressing yourself through photography. It could be expressing yourself through whatever it is. Mine just happens to be sound, and
That's awesome, man.
and I choose that.
Guitar and what? Guitar and what?
And the drums.
And which other two do you plan on learning at some point?
So the keys is something I've always wanted to learn how to play. I started learning basically the chord progressions, but I find that the guitar allows me a little bit more freedom, right? But the piano and the keys is something I've always wanted to play. And then I wanted to play, and I also want to play a wind instrument.
All right.
One wind instrument. I think it's going to be saxophone, but I'm not sure yet. I think it's going to be saxophone, but I'm not sure yet. I love the sound of the sax because the sax has a way to kind of like pull you in.
Just say
Yes.
it. Just say we're all thinking it. We're all thinking it. We all know what what saxophone does to people. Just say it. It's okay. It's okay. We're
That's
doing PG-13
interesting.
here, okay?
You have to tell me exactly what that is
No,
because
no, I don't.
we're not thinking the same thing.
I don't want to get my producer into trouble, you know? Okay.
Okay. Okay.
But man, yeah.
Mm.
There's this question I always ask every guest on the show. Basically, what's the best advice you've ever gotten? Secondly,
Mm.
what advice would you give to youngins trying to get into the whole business of music and sound?
Mm. If it sounds terrible, keep at it.
That's the advice you were given.
That was it. As simple as that. If it sounds terrible, keep at it until it sounds better.
Hmm.
It is because there are levels to that, because there is, in every process or every new process that you undertake, if you are beginning in that process, 9 times out of 10 you will suck. You would literally you will put out stuff that is subpar. That should not be a discouragement. It should be a point to improve on. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself. That is the honest truth. So the review process or the thinking should be, I have put out this thing. You start. First of all, you have to start. Whatever the barrier, whatever thing is going through your head, you start. Right? And even if you do it bad, you do it again and do it again and do it again until you gain mastery.
Okay.
That is the thing.
Good
That
again.
was the best advice I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And it is one that stayed with me through my career, both in the job I currently do and both in my creative endeavors as well. I strive to better myself every day. And I think everybody should actually subscribe to that kind of
Yeah.
philosophy. Personal improvement, regardless of the result. You obviously, the results are important. You review those because it serves as an indicator for growth. But the process, the learning has to continue. You always have to improve on the things you do. So that was the best advice I've ever gotten. For people who are planning on embarking on this journey in the auditory field, I would say take the advice that was given to me.
Okay.
Start.
That's a really sound advice. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's a really sound advice.
Take the advice that was given to me. Start and keep getting better at it. That is it. That's just it. It's the
All
same
right.
advice.
All right, Solomon, before we go, I
Yeah.
have about 3 rapid fire questions. All right.
Oh.
So this will come quick and the answers have to be
Oh,
come
they have
in.
to be like, oh no, those kind of machine gun kind of questions.
Yeah, man. It's coming at you, so you're giving it to me, and I'm giving it to you.
Okay, great.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, first one. What's a book or movie that has profoundly impacted you?
I see. Born a Crime, Trevor Noah.
Okay. If you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
If I could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive. Wow, that's a tough one. Because there's so many great artists. But I think my favorite would be Michael Jackson. I really want to be in the studio. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit in the corner and just watch Sugarfoot Ray, watch him, and watch everybody just make music. I feel like just soaking up that entire environment would make me
MJ is king. MJ is king.
Yeah. So
all right, last one. What's a hidden talent or hobby you have that most people don't know about?
Most people don't know that I can cook, but
yeah. You're almost a load of cook.
no, most people are very surprised that I can cook. But I'm like, this should be obvious. From the region I come from, the region I come from, we have excellent cooks, and so most people get like very bewildered and be like, "Oh yeah, dude, you can cook. How comes X, Y, Z?" Like, I have a mom who cooks, and she cooks beautifully. So
I mean, it's true.
it's natural.
Solu has cooked for me, and so yeah, I know.
So that's the thing that most people don't know that I can do, because I tend to be lazy about it. And so I would typically order out rather than cook, which I know. Sorry, mom, but she's always like, you need to make your own food. And so that's the thing about me that most people don't know.
I feel you, my guy, man. Solomon, thank you so much for showing up,
It
man.
was amazing.
I've had a blast having this conversation with you on camera.
It's
This,
always
this is our
awesome.
thing. This is our thing, man. Thank you so much for coming
Man,
on board, and
wonderful.
I'm
Bless.
definitely bringing you back
Bless,
because
man.
there's so much more we need to talk about.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. That's the episode. I hope you had a good time listening to Solomon. Like I said, smartest guy I know. As usual, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube and Instagram to be updated at every drop because we drop every week. Till next time, peace out.